Today we are going to be VOD reviewing what I believe was one of the most unluckiest games of all time from Heartsteel Cup. This was a game played by none other than our favorite bald man, Subzeroark. And quite honestly, it was kind of amazing how unfortunate this game was. This was a game that I did not think... I'm going to actually lower the volume on this, sorry. But this is a game that was so unbelievably unfortunate. I actually couldn't believe it. So, we're just gonna watch it because a lot of people, I think a lot of people complain in TFT about games that they're like, oh, like, you know, like I thought that this game I played was super unlucky, and then like you VOD review it and you're like, oh, that wasn't actually that, it wasn't that bad, you know what I mean? But this game in particular is a little bit different. This game was pretty fucking bad. I'm also gonna move a little bit of the UI here so I don't cover, you know, the glorious face of Subzeroark. Maybe put the music down here. But anyways. Starting off 2-1, Heartsteel Cassante in shop. Already like one of the best openers that you can get in any game. It's literally like one of the best. Open here, none of the other units at the shop are that good. Lily is fine. A lot of superfan, you know, lines are available. Things like Pentakill, things like Seraphine, a reroll with Bard, or recently Kale's supposedly apparently pretty good, which I still need to try out. But his shop so far have been like not the best. Like obviously his headline is really good, but it's like, okay, like where do we hit the Yone? Do we hit like a set or whatever? It really depends on what we find here to try to hit that early Heartsteel. He does pre-level here to try to get the Heartsteel odds, and we're sitting here 2-1. Actually, funny enough, champion delivery realm, and we get a Yone out, and we get the 3 Heartsteel. So already really great opener. Best friends, Pandora's items, Indomitable Will. We do have bow, chain, and belt as our item slams here. So it's very possible that we do lean into Yone and Yone reroll because we do have Titans, we do have Indomitable Will. We have a really good start with it, especially with Heartsteel. We get a lot of extra resources with the gold pumping in, especially with the realm being champion delivery, right? So we have a bunch of resources coming in. I'm going to 2x it, but it's pretty obvious that from this spot, it's basically a Yone game. He also actually types it in chat. You can't see it. My camera's covering it, but he types Yone, Indomitable Will, and it's basically a Titan Slam, open Evan Shroud, and it's basically a 2-1 force. And this spot's pretty fucking good. A lot of econ going to be trickling in through Heartsteel. A lot of econ coming in for the champion delivery, and we are going to be steady cruising. And like you're looking at the spot, like how could it possibly go wrong, right? Obviously, we got to keep our minds open to different other lines that could potentially exist, but out of everything so far, this game looks incredibly straightforward. Doesn't pick up the Lulu in shop here, just looking to try to make our strongest board. We do have Urgot, one of the strongest 3 costs in the current meta. Definitely something that we could maybe try to consider onto our board. We do know Set is eventually going to try to get onto our board if we find one, so maybe with Moshes and stuff. I don't know if there's a way for us to exactly make 10 this spot. We have 4 gold already. He's already plugging in the crowd divers into his team planner. Good stuff. Let's see, 4 makes us 8. It's a little hard to make 10 here, especially because we want to preserve as much HP as possible. When it comes to 2 cost reroll, we are typically loose streaking into the 2 cost, so we're stabilizing so early on 3-2. But when it comes to 3 cost reroll, typically you are rolling on 3-5 for the headliner or 4-1 and then just doing a full send. For not only your headliner, but basically your entire board. It kind of depends on lobby tempo, how many of your units are contested, etc. The Yone game is also, by the way, this line in particular is a little less popular than it used to be. The main reason is that because Heartsteel with Zed and Ezreal is sort of like the big thing that everyone's sort of playing in most games, and especially at higher tier lobbies. It's like at least 2 or 3 Heartsteel players a game where, you know, 2 out of 3 are almost always bot 4ing, and then 1 is just winning out the lobby. It happens almost every single time. But going into the carousel here, we do have, again, we have open belt. We do have the Titan Slam. So things like Cloak, especially on 3 costs like an Urgot, is really nice here. It gives us an Evan Shroud, which I think is what we will opt for in this spot in particular. And looks like we don't get it. He actually opts for the 1 cost here, so, or 1 cost Cloak, which is kind of surprising. I'm not the biggest fan of this play. I think 1 cost off carousel is pretty bad. But I mean, it does make sense. Like, what else are you gonna take? You're gonna take a 3 cost chain, but then like, then what? Like, it doesn't really do much. Like maybe a Sunfire for a little bit of extra HP preservation, but it doesn't preserve you that much and actually kills our belt, which we need for Evan Shroud. So I guess this was the best that you could do here. You're still making 20, so can't even really complain. But now what? Signature line. Well, I mean, you know how it is. But moving on. Again, we're going to actually fast forward here because there isn't too much to talk about. We are sitting here, 3 crowd diver, a little awkward. We don't raise the stakes. Nothing much to really do. Keep trying to play our strongest board. This Ari can probably fit onto our board here. We probably make enough money. Yeah, still making 40. We do have to sell the Katarina, which is a little awkward. But, I mean, this already like could be justified, could not be justified. It's a little hard to say because let's say you find like an early Zed, then suddenly 4 crowd diver was an option and now it's not. We do find the affiliates here. We do get to the 4 Heartsteel. If we get to get one more set, we do get 5. But that is the first big thing that happens this game, which I don't know if you caught it or not, but he got an empty Krug. This is something that is changing, I believe, in the next patch. But right now, in terms of loot distribution, empty Krug is pretty bad because now your components and all your economy is not coming in until Wolves. So you are basically down items and resources for this whole stage, which is why you hear a lot of, like, pro players complain about empty Krugs because it's fucking terrible. You can see, like, basically out of this PvE round, we only got, like, what, like 6 gold in a tier. Pretty fucking egregious. It's pretty terrible. So already off to a bad start, but it's okay. We have Heartsteel. We know we're gonna get a lot of money in for 1. It's gonna be fine. Anyways, Inspiring Epitaph, you have my bow, Ascension. Now, the augments could be worse. Inspiring Epitaph is actually pretty decent, and it's actually really great in the Yone line, and any AD melee in particular. We really like that extra % max health shield, because it's a little beefiness, and also 10% attack speed. Really great to give us a little bit of bonus DPS for our AD melee carries, who utilize attack speed pretty well across the board. 3 Edgelord, 3 Heartsteel, still very strong and solid board. Yeah, we're down resources a little bit, but Buff Yone is looking really good. The only downside, though, is that I don't know if it starts just happening yet, but I believe Subzero is eventually going to start scouting and realizing, like, hey, like, there's kind of a lot of Yones taken out of the pool already. A lot of players are already leading Heartsteel in this lobby in particular. A lot of people are thinking about Ezreal Zed, especially in realms where there's a lot of trickle-down economy, like Scuttle Puddle, things like Crab Brave, things like Champion Delivery, things like the augment payout realm. Like, when there's a lot of economy that can get trickled into your board very quickly, very fast, you hit these economic breakpoints, you know, very quickly, then suddenly it's like anybody can play Heartsteel. It doesn't really matter. The biggest inhibitor for that line is typically just not having enough money to make a justifiable pivot at 4-1 or at 4-2. So, but anyways, still, we're 88 HP. 88, and I want you to keep in mind, it is 3-3 right now. We are 88 HP down to 83. Just keep that number in your head, okay? Because this is where things start getting a little tragic. We're starting to scout the lobby a bit more, and again, starting to notice, I think that he counted, 4 or maybe 5 Yones. Cricklo gets taken off the carousel, which is pretty unfortunate for us. It does get ripped away from it, so Hodge is still not an option here. We get another cloak. Maybe it's justifiable for maybe a BT here, but it is 3-5. We have a lot of money here. Gonna open up the Cassante and try to start rolling for any edgelord that really makes sense that we can fit under a board to either item hold or to maybe hopefully find the Yone headliner here. A lot of the times you are trying to hope for the Yone headliner here. Doesn't find it. Pivot's a little sloppy. We do get the unfortunate TF onto our board here, holding the Titans, but it's okay. You can maybe make the justification that you're supposed to hold the Kale for 2 rounds and then pivot off onto the Yone at 4-1. I could see that argument, but I think Subzero said he had enough money. He wants to try to look for that Yone anyways. So I don't fully agree with the play, but I can see the justification for it. But nonetheless, finds the Crowd Diver Yone, the best headliner for Yone, and our spot's looking really good. It's looking fantastic. Again, we're still down resources, which is a little suspicious, but for Edgelord 3 Crowd Diver, little suspicious. We did sell the Katarina to try to make econ that last round, but nonetheless, it's still a good spot. We're just 3 Yones off. Champion deliveries coming up. We also got 4-1 neutrals coming up, and a shitload of resources should be pumping into our board because it's Wolves. We went empty Krug, so surely we get the majority of the resources we're owed at this point in the game in this next PvE round. But we're gonna fast forward a little bit more here, and this is, I think I remember watching this live. This is the part where I was laughing my ass off. We are scouting right now, right? Multiple units taken out, but we're 3 off. We're very close. And let's just play this at regular speed. See what he gets. Orb, Rod, Orb, Rod, Orb, Rod. So this guy on neutrals is 6 Yones in, and then he went Rod, Rod, Rod on Wolves with 0 gold after an empty Krug's roll. So now all his resources that he's owed is now owed on it's owed on 4-7 on Raptors. So now, like, what can you do, man? Like, okay, in this spot, the only thing you could really do is, and this is, by the way, this is hindsight 2020 because I've seen this game already. The only thing you could think about from this position is selling the 3 Yones, the 9 Yones you got on your bench, and try to make a desperate 4-2 pivot into a Karthus like Viego board. That is the best thing you can do in this spot. But that's quite honestly, like, that was after, like, we left the game and we thought about it for a while. Like, what the fuck could you possibly do in that situation? The Karthus like pivot with Viego for like a desperation last chance is like the only thing. Or Pandora's items in the spot, which you can hear Sub-Zero. I don't know if you can hear his audio or not. I don't think you guys can, but he's basically screaming, please Pandora's bench. So, or Pandora's items. But hedge fund, harm assist, and roll the dice. Now, if we were a little more critically thinking and not tilted from, you know, the 2 back-to-back egregiously low roll PvE rounds, maybe there's justification for hedge fund. Maybe. And you try to secure 6th. The reasoning is that you'll have just enough money with an extra 40 gold pump to just try and go 8, roll, try to find the Cartus, and then try to go from there. It's not a good idea, but it's an idea. Harm assist is if you're really just full sending, and harm assist 3, by the way, one of Vione's best augments, but the problem is that it's one of his best augments if he has items, but he doesn't have items, which is a bit of a problem here. So hedge fund could have been an option in this spot. He does actually roll over it, and it actually rolls over all the dice. Binary, now, if you were watching my perspective while watching this game, I'm screaming binary at the screen. Because if you take binary in this spot, you can make some level of justification that you can go, okay, I could go Titans open tier onto Yone, eventually a Hodge, and then you have Rod or Spark onto your, it's probably Rod onto the Echo, and then maybe, Rabadons onto, I don't know, maybe Kale, and then you can try to play and hope for like a Kane out, right? And try to play around edge lords in that sense. I was screaming binary in this spot. That was my immediate reaction because it was like, our items are fucking doomed. That is the best choice that we could have. Or maybe with the Forge. That's like the only things I could think of when I was watching this live. But in the end, Sub-Zero actually takes Harm Assist, which I believe is pretty incorrect. I think there were definitely other options available, but to be honest, it's a tourney setting. You have less than like 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 40 seconds to think about it, because, you know, you gotta do your roll down afterwards. So, you know, I don't blame him for not making what would have been like the quote-unquote most logical choice, but, I mean, his drops have been illogical the whole game, so like, what the fuck? Like, this is terrible. Like, this game is actually pretty fucking unlucky. Again, there are some alternative lines that you could have maybe thought about, but at best, you're looking at a 6. So maybe he's thinking that from this spot, as long as I try to get that Hodge off carousel and like a Yone 3 somewhere along the line, maybe it's fine. So, it's really hard. It's really hard. You have to it's really hard to do in tourney. Exactly. It's really hard to do in tourney. So, this is a spot of all time. Anyways, by the way, in case you haven't noticed, we are 5 loss. If you remember earlier, I was saying, remember, we were 88 HP on 3-3. It is now 4-3, and we are down to 36. We have not won a single round, and we are on a 6 loss, 40 gold. Still 6 Yones, by the way. Our Yone count has not gone up since 3-6. So, spot's looking terrible. As you can see, there is actually a Viego 2 potentially available for us on carousel. But unfortunately, Sub-Zero actually has to take the Evelyn, the 1-cost crit glove, off carousel. So another 1-cost on carousel because he needs to complete the Yone items. It's actually way more important to get these items onto Yone rather than just getting an empty item, naked Viego onto our board here. Rolls down here with like 40, 50 gold here. And as you can see by these rolls, yeah. Yeah. Like, this guy just keeps missing. It's so bad. And it's just one of those games. It's really just one of those games where like things are just not going your way. It's really hard to think about all of these like perfect decisions in real time. But you know, he did this right thing, didn't break 20 to try to keep a little more extra economic threshold to, like, you know, try to keep his board afloat, or rather just have a little more extra money to try to roll for that Yone 3. Rolls, digs past 10, like, we are down to basically true 0 at this point. And there's not much else we can do. We are sitting on 7 Yones, so unfortunately we are still not Yone 3. Titans Hodge isn't great, but you can tell by the, you know, the way that this fight is going down, he is dead. So we went from 3-3, 88 HP down to -3, 8 loss. I think maybe it was 9 loss from 3-3 all the way to 4-6. So he ended with a 7th, and you can't hear the audio because it's a 7th. We take those, and honestly, I think we take those. So anyways, that was pretty unfortunate to watch, but that is an example of a pretty unlucky game of TFT. Anyways, I hope this video was just a fun to watch. No flame to Sub-Zero. He actually made it to day 2 for Heartsteel Cup, so congratulations to you, bro. Gonna be watching Perspective. I believe he made it to day 2. If you didn't, it's gonna be very awkward. But I'll see you at the watch party, bro. Anyways, take care, guys. Hope this was fun, and I'll see you guys next time. Until then, take care and happy climbing. Bye bye now.